Habit Loop will be at the center of every discussion. Learn how it affects your development. Labitil with Dr. Martha J. every Sunday at 5:30 p.m.
And check this cool tune out, that's all part of it. It's a Lavitil theme song. I like the vibes of this. There's something happy about the song. It's like a happy little song, you know what I mean? Yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. J. Sakafet.
Mwela, hello, ma'am.
Mwela, priki poko, mwela bien formidable. Belle dimanche, bon après-midi. Dimanche ou samedi. Samedi, Saturday, dimanche, Sunday.
That's right.
Good afternoon. Well, it's all yours. I know you got guests. All right. Wishing you a good program, blessings, and take it over.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor. I appreciate you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Labitil Habits That Count. It's a place where we examine issues or concerns, and we identify practices or habits that we can implement to fix them or to achieve some level of success. I am your host, Dr. Martha J. Today, I want to extend sincerest thanks to our local sponsor, Attorney at Law Ronald Charles of Ronald Charles and Associates. They specialize in several areas of law, including criminal law, mediation. They also do trade as well. And they pretty much say anything that you would like to do. They provide notary services. Their model says it all. Their model says they don't leave anyone behind. It states every case, every client, every time. We thank them for positively contributing to our efforts at adding value to our community. And we want to encourage other local businesses to sponsor at least part of a segment or a whole segment like Attorney Charles's office did. And we will be happy to tell our listeners what you do. So thank you again to the offices of Attorney at Law, Ronald Charles and Associates. We are coming to you live via DBS Radio, TuneIn, YouTube, Facebook, or whether you're listening live on the radio locally, DBS Radio, or in the Caribbean, or you might be listening to diaspora via TuneIn. We want to say to you, welcome to today. If you would like to call during the program, we have two local numbers, 448-3284 or 1-800-327. And if you want to call you in the diaspora and you want to call us, you can call us via WhatsApp, and it's 305-432-9744. We want to say a happy shout out to those of you who are very interactive on DBS Facebook page and also Budding Writers page. Thank you, and we appreciate you. Today, we are continuing our dive into civil aviation, and we are looking at other career paths. It is an area of high demand, and we want to motivate, inspire interest, and we want to encourage and show support to those who are still on the journey to attaining some level of success in that particular field. We know that it is an underserved area as far as women and different ethnicities, and we would really like to bolster that to make sure that women and other ethnicities can look at aviation as something that is out there and that they can do. So to help us navigate this topic today, we have with us a certified commercial pilot. He's also a certified drone pilot and a certified flight instructor. And the best part of it all, he's rooted in dailies. All right, don't ask why I like to boast about dailies. That's okay. Mr. Fitzroy St. also has roots with St. Mary's Academy. He'll tell you more about it when he introduces himself. So Mr. St. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do in civil aviation.
All right, well, pleasant good afternoon to the country of Dominica, and to thank you for having me and bringing me on, Dr. J. My name is Fitzroy St. I'm a certified flight instructor and a commercial pilot, and also a drone pilot, and an alumni of St. Mary's Primary and St. Mary's Academy. So shout out to SMP and SMA and all my teachers down there. Um, yeah, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Chicago, and then I went to Dominica, and then from there I went joined the military and had some aviation experience as I served in the Combat Aviation Brigade in North Carolina. So I did a lot of missions there, and then went on to flight school and whatnot to continue the career once I got out the military. Started off a private pilot, going into other forms of the training, and then now I'm a commercial pilot and flight instructor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You know, the first question I'm going to ask you is what inspired you to want to do flight? I mean, I know of other people who go into the military and they come back and do other things, but you went in and you came back and you're doing flight. What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, one day I was traveling from Dominica to St. Thomas, and I had a pilot by the name of David. I owe it to him. At that time we did a flight to St. Croix to refuel, and on the way to St. Thomas we stopped to refuel in St. Croix, and he asked me if I wanted to come up in the front so he could show me around. And ever since that opportunity, I got to, I hold the yoke, I turned the plane around, and just did small little things, and he just showed me the world of aviation, and he just brought stars to my eyes. I was really intrigued, really excited. That's something that when I was growing up in Dalis, I didn't really think that was possible for me. But when he gave the opportunity and he gave the go ahead, I saw him and I took it. I was 10 years old at the time, and then I went to South Korea to serve in the military, and I came back to visit my mother in 2015. I met him the second time, and I told him that I'm going to Embry-Riddle at the moment, and which is like a prestigious aviation university. And I was telling him about, my journey, and I wanted to start serving the cab in the Combat Aviation Brigade, and I was looking into the career field. And he was like, "Oh, wow, really? So let me go ahead and take you up. Let's come in the cockpit." And so I was
Wow.
telling David the story about when I was 10 years old,
Uh-huh.
and come to pass, he was the same guy. I was telling him that, he's a friend of the family.
Wow.
He knew another pilot back in the day. His name was also
Mm,
Fitzroy.
mm.
Um, and come to find out, he was the same guy who gave me the opportunity. So I told him, man, the next time I see you, I'm gonna fly you, and I made him that promise. So yeah,
Ah.
so after I got out, 6 months prior to me getting out the military, I saved up a bunch of money. I stopped all the partying, doing all of the
Mm.
extracurricular activities, and just kind of focused in and zoned in on aviation. And just going to the flight school every day from Sunday to Sunday, 6 to 8 hours a week, just being completely devoted and diligent towards the craft. And so that's actually how I got into the field.
Wow, you really make me teary-eyed because I mean, just think about it. 10-year-old, somebody brought you into the cockpit and he had no idea what he was doing. And I really think if more young boys or girls will just get the opportunity to sit right in that space and they can just see how easy it is. I mean, I've had an opportunity to sit right behind, not in the seat, but you can see that, hey, that looks easy. It's nothing difficult about it. And I'm just so glad that you're sharing that story of how you were inspired. Somebody put you in the cockpit at 10 and you decided, and the sparkles came on, and you decided that's what you wanted to do. I
Absolutely.
wanted to ask you, this is an amazing story. And so I hope the pilots listening, they will at least think on themselves to say, hey, let me put a young child at the front just to see what, just inspire somebody. And you started telling me about your journey, and I wanted you to tell me a little more. So you said you were in the military first, and then you went to Embry-Riddle. What was the journey like? And tell us, what were some of the challenges that you came through? Or at least one. You don't have to tell us all because we all know the challenges already. A lot of people before you spoke about the cost. But tell me one, at least one of those challenges you experienced along your journey on that whole flight journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So, initially I got intrigued in the aviation brigade because my colonel, he's also a pilot. So he would take me to South Carolina while they're doing instrument training in the helicopters, so in the Chinooks and the Blackhawks, in the Kiowas. And I really got motivated to start my training, but it is very expensive. So a lot of times people start, but they don't finish because they run out of money or they get them to the wrong schools and whatnot. And that was why I messed up on not really getting into the correct school at the right time. Because for me, it was trial and error, right? So I went
Mm,
to, after I got my private certificate, I went to a particular aviation college in Miami and then
Mm-hmm.
also another university in Texas where
Mm-hmm.
they just weren't the right fit. So you just have to find the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got to Purdue, that's when I
Mm-hmm.
got the rest of my ratings from instrument, commercial, multi-engine commercial, and certified flight instructor out
Mm-hmm.
there. So finding the right school for you is imperative and is paramount to help you get done quicker, but also save money and also garner quality level of instruction too.
That's right.
Because
Mm-hmm.
in aviation, you have some of the mom and pop schools which are okay, but you really want to have a good program, a good infrastructure. That way, once
Mm-hmm.
you begin your training, you can have some level of consistency throughout.
Mhm. Nice. Awesome. I like that. I see you have your hand in a few things aviation, licensed commercial, licensed drone, certified instructor, and right now you serve as a flight instructor. I wanted to ask why? Why all three? Why did you choose to do a variety of things in aviation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a I've always been motivated and I love to diversify myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting yourself out there to get more opportunities into the industry. Aviation is a really small industry. It's a lot about who you know as well. But the more you can add to your resume, the more it makes you well-rounded. And there's a difference between a pilot and an aviator. So I like to
Mm-hmm.
consider myself an aviator because
Mm-hmm.
a pilot is this guy who knows the controls and knows the procedure,
Mm-hmm.
and he can get you from A to B. But an aviator is somebody who dives deep and to really get in tune and specializes, and so that's why I
Mm-hmm.
went to do the degree in aviation and avionics as well. So the drone aspect of it was for me to one day probably open up a company, get young guys on board. You can do real estate videography, or you
Mm-hmm.
can do commercial work for other companies and whatnot. And the flight instruction portion of it was because um, you know as much as we do all the hard work to get where we're at, our goal is to be of service to others. And
Yeah.
so when you can put yourself in that space to be of service to other people, that's how you show gratitude for where God has taken you. You know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
So you had
giving
a
back is the icing on the cake for me.
icing on the cake. One of my previous interviewees, he said the same thing. He said, adding value. He said, all I wanted to do is add value. And even if I got another position, this is where I felt like I was adding value. So I like that. So it's like, okay, it's like us in education. You're an educator, you're a teacher, but then you get to do other things. And then even if it's still in the field of education, you can be an administrator, you can be an instructor. And so I like the idea that you see yourself as somebody who adds value in whatever area that becomes available. So I want to ask you from a flight instructor's perspective, who is your ideal student? So let us suppose you had the opportunity to select two students or a class of students. What would the qualities you're looking for in a good student, somebody who's going to start this race and finish?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I look for as an instructor is someone who is eager to be a sponge to knowledge, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want to absorb as much as you can. You want to be able to listen, and you also want to be able to have attention to detail, right? Every time you get up in the cockpit, even before we get up in the cockpit, I look for some signs like, are you doing homework? Are you tasking yourself? Are you asking questions? Are you inquisitive? Are you actively engaged?
Mm-hmm.
Those are qualities that I look for. Also, people who are resilient. Every day, you're not gonna have a good day, but if you can bounce back and you can come back stronger and say, you know what, I messed up on this area or this area, but how do I improve? These are the people that I look at and I can tell that they're gonna go places. Very humble people as well because aviation will humble you.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you might think you probably don't even know as much.
Uh-huh.
So, humble people who are just want to be a sponge of knowledge, who have a work ethic, because 80% of our job is actually not flying, it's actually reading. So you have to know
Mm-hmm.
the concepts, the procedures. You have to know, weather. Aviation makes you a lawyer, a doctor, a meteorologist, a pilot. It incorporates almost all the major industries in terms of STEM or medicine, whatever it might
Mm-hmm.
be, to be well-rounded. So people who love to read, who are asking questions and actively engaged. That's the signs that I look for.
Wow. So what about from a student's perspective? Because I saw one of the pictures I posted on Facebook of you. It says that you were a top student you're in that picture over there. What I wanted to ask you is, who is your ideal, from a student's perspective, what would you tell a student? they should be like in order for them to succeed. So I heard your perspective from an instructor's point of view. From a student point of view, in order to succeed, what you want to tell those students out there?
First of all, I'm going to say patterns of behavior. And that's so important because you have to be consistent, you know? From a student's point of view, I sometimes struggle with being motivated. So you're not always going to be motivated, but you have to be disciplined. And when you can't be disciplined all the time, try to be consistent. And that gives you momentum in order to maintain that disciplined quality of life. That, you know, that momentum that you get going forward. So that was important for me. Also, I love to read. I used to read a lot when I was younger, and I still do. So just reading manuals and actually being excited, acting on your highest passion. All the time, try to be consistent, and that gives you momentum in order to maintain that.
I apologize. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So acting on your highest passion, fine. You have to be excited by aviation. You have to love it. It's not something that you can just be like, man, I'll do it. No, you have to love it. Because every day you go up there, you're putting your life on the line, and you know you're with other people, and you're providing a top quality service. You know, it's a very important profession that demands a lot out of you. So my advice to students is, if you do love aviation, be obsessed with it. You know, don't just be entertained by it, but you have to be obsessed with it. You have to really devote yourself and be fully 110% committed to it. It's really expensive to learn, so you want to be able to, you know, reap the benefit when you do dive into that field. And just encourage students to act in your highest excitement, taking it as far as you possibly can, as long as you possibly can, with zero expectation of the outcome. And the reason for that is because you can't control everything. I've planned for hours for a flight, and when I got to the airport, weather kicked in and I couldn't go. You know, so aviation really taught me patience. So as a student, you need to have patience. You need to be resilient. You need to be able to bounce back.
I like that, patience and bouncing back. What I wanted to ask you, so what advice would you give to a young boy or girl who dreams of pursuing the career in aviation? What habits should they possess? So I know you talk about, you know, the qualities of a good student from a student's perspective, as well as from an instructor's perspective. But if somebody's looking to follow, and I know you mentioned something about reading already, what are the habits you think that young boys or girls or anybody who would like to go into the field of aviation, what kind of habits they should be actually implementing or just engaging in right at this time, even before they've started?
Yeah, well, showing interest, right? So, you know, I know the Canefield Airport in Dominica, I kind of shut down, the operation kind of shut down a little bit, but I used to go there. I used to live in Massac, and I would every day drive past the airport, and sometimes I would stop and talk to the firemen or talk to the aircraft controllers, just be around the environment and ask them, you know, what time are the planes coming in? That way I can come and see, take a look, you know? So be devoted, show interest, ask questions. YouTube University. If you're really interested, you know, you will put the effort in to actually get started. Also, network. You have to network. It's a small community, so you know, just getting yourself out there, showing that you're interested, and I think that's about it. I mean, you need to also be taking care of your health as well because you're going to be at high altitudes and a lot of, you know, high concentration activities. So you need to make sure that you're healthy. So, you know, start doing the right thing consistently, and that will help you get to, you know, where you need to be in terms of people looking out for you and showing that, you know, because people provide you opportunity when they know that, you know, you're showing interest initially, you know, so you have to put that forth.
Awesome. So was there ever a time when you felt like this thing is taking too long? I know you talked about patience. You said you have to have patience in aviation. Was there ever a time along your journey when you felt like, I'm probably have to put that on pause?
Absolutely, absolutely, many times. When it didn't work out in Miami, I felt that way. When it didn't work out in Texas, I felt that way. During COVID time, I didn't fly for 9 months. And aviation is a perishable skill. So if you're not doing it consistently, then it takes a whole lot more money and time and devotion to get back into the not just the currency, but the proficiency aspect of it as well. You know? So yeah, man, you have to be patient and you have to understand that things don't happen in your timing, it does happen in God's timing, but you still want to plan and prepare and, you know, plan your work and work your plan. And when you're doing things in the on the side that complement, you know, where you want to go, You know, even if you can't build Rome was never built in a day. You know, so you have to take time to get there. Be patient, but keep on learning. A good pilot is always learning. So that's what I can say about that.
Good part of it is always learning. Awesome. Is there anything you want to tell, people? Because last week I know we had people who said that I had, well, 2 weeks in a row, I had people who said their children were interested. One was female and one was male. And they said that they had kids that were interested in doing piloting or in aviation. What would you say to somebody who is like not necessarily high school already, but sixth grade, middle school, 10, like you, 10 years old? What would you say to parents who have children who are that young and are already displaying interest in aviation? What can those parents do to support those kids?
Yeah, great question. I think encouragement, encouragement is the biggest thing. Being a support system for them. If that is a huge career to get into. And so if they have the funding, or even if they don't have the funding, there's funding out there that they can look for the kids, that way they can get started some way, somehow. Putting on videos or even like this podcast right now, where we're providing value in terms of that aspect, have them tune into programs like this, or look for different programs throughout the Caribbean or even in the United States if they have the access and outreach to reach out to the FAA or reach out to OBAP, which is a organization for Black pilots as well. They have organizations for Latino pilots, organizations for high school students. There's so many programs out there if you just go online and look it up. So you have to be diligent. You have to actually put yourself out there. But there are a lot of places that provide value and provides financial support or just background information. The FAA is a good resource for that as well. And other universities or high schools also do programs with other flight schools and whatnot to get kids on board early. Even at Purdue, we have Aviation Day where all the kids come out. Even in the military, they bring the helicopters out, the F-16s, the fighter jets, the Beluga, the whale planes and whatnot. And even us, we do demo flights as well to, entice the kids. So if they can go to the airports and talk to a pilot or just look at the planes, that will ignite the interest in them. And also for the people who started and didn't finish, always fan your flames. Always fan your flames.
I like that. Find your flames. Good.
Yeah.
Always find your flames. What inspired you at the beginning? What sparked you at the beginning? So
well, it was the experience that I got thanks to David. But also just being around it because I worked in the cab for 3 years and I used to I got the opportunity to fly with my lieutenant, to fly with David, to fly with other pilots who gave me an opportunity. But I put myself out there. So instead of going out, I go to the airport.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, yeah. I work at a school where most of my students, 80% of my students are flight students, and they would just go spot, plane spotting. I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
They would just go and spot planes. Some of them who can afford it, they rent airplanes and they go out, but they just go where an airport is and just spot the planes and just take a look at them and see how they, I suppose, maneuver. And so I like the idea that you're saying, go ahead and stop by the airport. And parents, he said it to you, support your students. If you find out that's your children, if you find out that's what they're interested in, go ahead and find ways to do that. If I were to ask Mr. St. Jean, if there was an opportunity to spark interest in students, or what could you do? Is there anything you think you can do, or what would you like to do? Or would you support an initiative to spark interest in students?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also looking forward to providing scholarships and grants to students as well because I received a scholarship while I was in college, a 9-month scholarship that helped to finish out my training and help with other utilities and stuff like that for flight school because it's super expensive. But I had good grades and stuff like that. But so if the kids who are genuinely interested are going to maintain good grades and show diligence, then there's a lot of funding out there that can help them as well. And on my part as well too, I look forward to pouring back into the community, where in terms of value, in terms of knowledge, in terms of scholarships and grants and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to doing that in the near future.
Yeah, what I would like to come out of this is, I mean, I've heard from you, I've heard from Miss Abraham last week, and there are lots of other pilots in Dominica, other people in aviation I know December was Aviation Day. I'm not sure if there's anything going on in schools, but I'm really hoping that something could be set up so that we can do something like what you're saying. Get the kids to just see the planes, touch the planes, see what it's like, so that they can at least spark interest in there. You have motivated me even as a, old person to at least think of, take a look at the skies and see what it has to offer. It's beautiful. I mean, I've just had opportunities to go in the smallest ones and just fly for 15 minutes, not very high. And it's an awesome experience. So I know for a fact that it's something that is not as scary as it looks. One other thing I wanted to ask is before you said, I think in a conversation we had, and you talked about, going up there with a student every day. There's a level of trust that you have to place in that. Tell me a little bit about that as an instructor. What is that? What is it like for you every day when you're meeting a new student whom you're gonna take up there and you don't know them?
Yeah. So even before I take the student up into the aircraft, I get to know them not as a student, but as a person, because even if they're a student, when we're up there, we're working as a team. So, I'm looking at the character. I'm looking, at how are they attentive, are they listening and whatnot. So it's a factor of trust because you say it's dangerous, but at the same time, before we even get into the cockpit, I get them prepared. I guide them around the process to where I can help them ease their nerves and any type of anxiousness that they may have. And I'm a firm believer that confidence is a result of competence, and competence comes from knowledge. So when I have students and I give them homework, or I say, hey, read up on this, or go watch a video on that, and they come back and they're ready, and I quiz them and I ask them questions to see if they knew what the task is for the day, and they come ready, they come prepared, then all we really got to do is have a good time up there,
Can you repeat that competence thing again? Can you repeat that? I liked it.
Oh, I said that confidence comes from is a direct result of competence, and competence is derived from knowledge. So the more knowledge you have is the more competent you become in it, and then when you become competent, there's confidence that's derived from that.
I love that. Right.
Yes,
so therefore, your job is to make sure they have the knowledge so they can develop the competence, and then their confidence rises. And then you go up there with them and it's like, we're just having fun together.
We're going to be safe. I mean, my job as a flight instructor is to teach you the concept. Once you understand the concept, then I get you to learn the procedure. Once you learn the procedure, then my job is to give you visual cues to help you fly the airplane. That way you're not strictly looking inside, because a lot of students like to look inside and they get so zoned in and hyper focused on one particular thing. But in aviation, you're bouncing around doing a bunch of different things at the same time. But after that, I just look for variations and deviations and small little things that they correct. And I'm very, very patient with them because I know that it's a new skill that they have to develop. So it helps me stay on my toes. It helps me stay competent as well and proficient as well. So when we have good students, it helps us to fly better as well and be better instructors as well. So
I like that. You said something and you say you want students to be able to go outside, not just look inside. If I tell you something shameful about me, I cannot dance the electric dance, the electric slide, because I'm always counting my steps. And everybody's having fun, and I'm here counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I never have fun. I'm always making mistakes. So I'm thinking of what you just said. It's like, I want students who are not focused on the inside. You want them to be able to relax and look at the outside. So people who are comfortable dancing the electric slide, they're just dancing, they're having fun, and they're sliding away. They're not wasting time counting like me. So you want students who are not focused on that inside portion. You want them to be able to hone that and be able to look at the other aspects, because flying is just so multifaceted. You can't just zone on one portion. I like that.
And another key point as well is this, like, a lot of people have fear of flying, right? And fear to me is feedback. Because at one point I was very afraid of heights, but I've always been the person to confront my fears. And so, that's one of the reasons why I actually went to go to flight school too, because I wanted to confront that and address it and hit it face on. So face your fears. And like you said, the more you understand something, is less you fear it, So it's nothing to be afraid of. We're there to guide you. We're there to encourage you. And so that's really our job. Your job is to stay prepared.
I like that. So this has been Fitzroy St, flight instructor, commercial airline, not airline, but commercial, certified commercial pilot. Tell us your final thoughts. What are your final thoughts for us? Anybody listening, whether you want to give your final thoughts to people who are on the journey right now, or people who or parents who are hoping to motivate their children, or just a young person listening, or a school teacher who might want to influence or just spark interest in their students. Whoever it is you want to give your final thoughts to, go ahead and do that for us.
All right. Well, first of all, today's my mother's birthday, so happy birthday to Knowles Hilaire, and congratulations on your graduation today. I also want to thank my teachers who poured into me. Miss Sandra Paul, who was my first grade teacher in St. Mary's Primary School, Mr. Tyson. Just people, community. That's one thing I love about Dominica is there's a sense of community. They take care of their people, and so I want to say thank you to these people for getting me to where I need to be today. Even my aunt Daphne as well, who just was a pivotal person in my life to help the trajectory of my career advance. So I say thank you to her as well. Shout out to my father and the people who poured into me. For the parents, I want to encourage you guys to not hone in too much on how you're going to do something. Your job is not really to know how you're going to do it. Your job is to believe that it can happen, and then do the background steps to help you get there. Your brain can't really compute how something's going to happen. It computes what has happened and what is happening in the now. So your job is not to know how,
right?
But it's to believe that it already has happened and work towards that, as if there's like a halo effect, right? So you have to see yourself being what you want already and visualize that ideal version of yourself and work towards it every day. Act on your highest passion, taking it as far as you possibly can, as long as you possibly can, with zero expectation of the outcome. And you'll be surprised.
Don't worry about the how.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the how. I love it. Don't worry about the how. Thank you so much, folks. This has been Labitil, Habits That Count. And you see what we mean when we say we are adding value. We want to be able to spark interest into a young mind, into a young somebody somewhere, and let them know that you can do it. Don't worry about how. Just tell yourself that you want it and put yourself in the position for it. So again, thank you for your listening. And those of you who missed it, if you didn't listen because you missed the time, you can go back to DBS homepage, Facebook page, or you can go to Labitil because I send all of them over there. You can listen to them. You can also go to YouTube Labitil, and I will put there for you a playlist that you can listen to. And of course, we make this into a podcast. You can listen to that as well. And I want to encourage you all to follow Labitil on Spotify. If you do that for us, the life is going to be a lot better. And so I want to say thank you again to attorney Ronald Charles and Ronald Charles Associates for sponsoring this leg. We appreciate you. And we want to say to you, show everyone listening, show kindness to at least one person. And if you plant a seed, it will grow. Thank you again for your listen. This has been Labitil, and I'm your host, Dr. Martha J. Thank you again with my host, Mr. Fitzroy St. of Dailies, Dominica, Chicago, St. Thomas, everywhere you think about it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Dr. J. I appreciate it.
Yes, my pleasure.
Wonderful, Dr. J.
Labitil, Habits That Count, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. with Dr. Martha J. The Habit Loop will be at the center of every discussion. Learn how it affects your development. Labitil with Dr. Martha J. every Sunday at 5:30 p.m.
All right, thank you, Dr. J, for that. Blessings on you. I like you. I flew, I kind of helped a guy watch the plane when I was in Sacramento. And we took a flight over Lake Tahoe. And he allowed me to, to control this thing for a little while. you know. And I got a little nervous after a while because it's like, man, this guy is brave. You know, you don't know me, and you allow me to just hold this thing and steer it over Lake Tahoe, and that was kind of fun. But piloting wasn't in my, my career path, so I just enjoyed the moment. But I've really been inspired by the program, listening to these pilots. And
next week it's going to be you, by the way. You're going to be my guest next week. I forgot to mention. Next week we're talking about appreciation, and my guest is going to be Pastor Jean-Jacques.
Yeah, I just looked at the message. Yeah, so
so we'll talk about it this week. I'll learn more about it this week.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one. Take care. God bless.
All right, take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, good. All right, that's it. You're listening to Lavitel with Dr. J. My name is Michael Jacques. I am about to leave and hand over to the GM. Until next time, have a good one. Don't die till you finish, and stay positive. Live your life on purpose and live it with purpose. I am out of here until next time.